It's a beautiful afternoon here in Treptower Park. It's 25 degrees out and sunny. So if you're stuck at home in quarantine and you're not allowed to go to the park, well, come join me for a virtual ride. Oh, I can't believe how many people are out. This is just, wow. They have little tape painted on the ground to make sure that we don't get too close to people, but I think it's pretty hard to avoid the social distancing guidelines. Now the guideline for Berlin and for Germany is 1.5 meters apart. So you're allowed to be in groups of 2, but you got to stay 1.5 meters away from everybody else. I think 1.5 meters is still possible, but yeah, this is a lot more crowded than I expected. I am really impressed at the crowds here. If anything, I feel there's more people out nowadays because people can't go to clubs or bars or anything, so they just go to the parks instead, which is great. I mean, I think the parks are a much nicer venue to hang out, and quite frankly, it's also, you know, a little bit cleaner outdoors than it is indoors. I mean, the level of contagion indoors is just incomparable to any outdoors venue, even if it is crowded outdoors. But wow, this is just look at the crowds here, man. Just look at the grass, families everywhere. Wow. And I think this is one of the most beautiful parks in Berlin because you got the River Spree on one side here with all these river boats and stuff. And then on the other side is, well, a nice big green flat park with some trees and a lot of good areas to sit. The weather is always pleasant here. I mean, it is all in all a really good place and a really good urban park. Now, this park came to be back in 1896. In fact, this park was built for the World's Fair of 1986. It was the how would you translate it in English? In German, it is die große Gewerbeausstellung. So the great industrial exhibition, I guess, would be the best way to translate this. Hello. Hello. Hey. Oh, sorry. Oh wow, people like being in my video. Oh, wow. Just gonna go through the grass here and just show you the crowds in the grass. Wow, look at all these people here. Oh, man. Hugely crowded venue here. Just go through the grass. Wow, it's a lot of people here. But yeah, back to what I was saying. So this was built for the World Expo. For the World Expo in 1896. And the world has built a lot of crazy stuff for the World Expo, right? I mean, Paris built the Eiffel Tower. You know, Brussels built their weird atom structure, atomium. Honestly, I think that is pretty weird and ugly, but what can I say? Seattle built a Space Needle, and Berlin built this park. They had over 7 million visitors to the expo over the 120 or so days that it took place. And it was an especially rainy year. So over 90% of the days, it was raining. So pretty shitty for an outdoor venue that they built. Regardless, they still got the 7 million visitors. Most of us remember this as just a park, but a lot of the most historically significant events in Berlin took place here. Fast forward a few years from the World Expo, and we get to World War II and the Battle of Berlin. The Battle of Berlin was kind of the last battle of World War II. It was Stalin versus Hitler, and it is when Stalin won over East Germany and Hitler took his own life. It is now the 75th anniversary of the Battle of Berlin, which began on April 16th, 1945. The Soviet troops entered Berlin from the southeast, from Treptower, from this part of town. Over 2 million Soviet troops. Let's nudge over this way for a second. I'm gonna show you the other part of the park here. We have a little garden. Let's go through the other area of the park. We're going to take a quick detour. You would not know from the crowds that the city is shut down. And indeed, the city is not shut down. The businesses are shut down. But Berlin is very much alive. For a quick detour here, just take a look here. This is the observatory. Built for the World's Fair. At the time, it was the largest refractor in the world, the largest refracting telescope. I believe that telescope is not operational, but it still stands in the back of this venue. Too bad we can't go in. Yeah, this is an absolutely beautiful road. Just gonna go into the road for a quick second just to show you what it looks like. All right, perfect. All right, let's go this way. All right, so this is what the road looks like here. I think this is, it's like what reminds you of like Southern California, the palm trees lining the boulevards of Beverly Hills, except there's no palm trees here and there's no leaves on any of these trees, but it has the same effect when you're just kind of cycling down this path. But this is a pretty huge park. Over there is the River Spray and the area where we biked along earlier. And then cutting across to the other side of the park. Actually, I'm kind of lost myself. I mean, this park is quite massive, and yeah, I am a little bit lost myself. I'm trying to take you to the Soviet War Memorial. And I think we're here. Here we are. Just a quick walk through here. We don't have quite the crowds here that we did in the main area of the park. This is the Soviet War Memorial to commemorate the 7,000 of the Red Army soldiers that died in the Battle of Berlin. The Battle of Berlin was the last straw to the German army in the end of the Second World War. After the death of Hitler, the Germans surrendered all control, and the city was divided up into its 4 sectors. East Berlin belonging to the Germans, or to the Soviets rather, and then West Berlin belonging to the French, Brits, and Americans. 81,000 Red Army soldiers died, but of course they were far outnumbered by the over 100,000 Germans who died in the Battle of Berlin. Two other Soviet war memorials were built in Berlin, one in Tiergarten and one a bit outside the city in Pankow. And this is one of them. And we're biking through a more secluded area of the park. The sun is gonna set, I think, in the next hour or so, so it is getting a little bit chillier, but still very comfortable. And the crowds are thinning out ever so slightly. We have a big lake here in the park. This lake is artificial and was also built during the World Expo times. One of the biggest exhibition halls, the main exhibition hall at the time, was situated on this lake. So let's just go for a quick loop around this lake before we end off the tour of the park. This is really an urban treasure here in Berlin. All right. Still plenty of people out, but no trouble maintaining social distancing here. I think they might have been those two that just walked by to my left might have been the first two masked people I've seen. Wearing masks is not all that common here in this park. and it's really not that common here in Germany. But good for them that they at least found masks somewhere, and they could at least buy it somewhere. That's pretty hard to find. It's a pretty big lake. We're just looping around the lake right now. And I think this is probably where I'll end the tour. Right, I think I'm gonna head on home. It's gonna be sunset pretty soon, so enjoy the rest of your evening, and stay safe, of course. And if you can't go visit the park yourself, if you're locked home, then I'll post some more virtual tours for you to watch.